Chapter 3. Cap. Cap hurried through the trees with the unconscious messenger in his arms, as Jeannot followed with her horse. They needed to take care of her and retreat to their camp.
"Have you sent?" "Just did,"
Jeannot replied in his deep voice, patting his chest and the magic-laced token that lay beneath.
"Rouge should meet us in a few minutes."
Nodding absently, Cap hunted for a suitable place to set down his burden. She was tall for a woman and broader in the shoulders than most, but her beautiful face was decidedly feminine. However, after 24 years of life, such things held little weight with him. The time at which she appeared in the past could have been a coincidence. Her attempt to kill him could not. Jeannot's red-headed sister came dashing through the trees just as Cap was carefully placing the messenger in a tiny open spot.
"The signal indicated an injury. Which one of you is hurt?"
She gasped when her eyes fell on the arrow in the stranger's shoulder.
"What happened? Did someone come from the south and get caught in the crossfire?" "Meet the messenger," Jeannot said gruffly, gesturing to her. "She took a shot at Cap, and he answered in kind." "A woman?"
Her voice echoed the surprise Cap had felt, but then annoyance colored it as she continued.
"Of course General Valentine would stoop to such tactics. But you!"
She stabbed an accusing finger at Cap.
"What were you thinking, falling for them?"
Cap paused in the middle of rolling the woman onto her side.
"I didn't fall for anything. She was simply faster than I expected."
And he'd subconsciously lowered his bow while she was dismounting, but Rouge didn't need to know that.
"Bad shot, though," Jeannot grunted. "Thankfully."
"Cap, what in the heavens are you doing?" Rouge exclaimed, dropping to her knees next to him.
"You can't bandage her shoulder with a dress in the way," he replied calmly, his fingers on the second button from her neck. "And I won't let her bleed to death while you argue about whether or not I am a fool."
Rouge batted his hand away.
"Her situation isn't that desperate. Go help my brother with her things and let me take care of this."
Thank the heavens. He could deal with injuries, but exposing a woman's shoulder went beyond his comfort level. Crossing to Jeannot, Cap began sifting through one of the saddlebags while his friend dealt with the other. Dresses, undergarments, a book on the history of ROUMATERRA, a copy of the latest Stuart mystery. He turned it over in his hand. How had she gotten it? Her accent was Ralnoran, but the books were printed in Dara and usually took months to reach markets in other kingdoms. Shrugging, he shoved it aside and kept searching.
"Anything?"
he asked, looking across the horse at his friend.
"Nothing,"
the other man replied with a furrowed brow.
"Only personal effects."
Cap knelt and quickly shuffled through the items in her satchel. There was nothing to associate her with General Valentine or anyone else in Amitié. He sat back on his heels, scanning the young woman as Rouge refastened her dress and began trussing her up. Had he been mistaken? But then, why had she shot that arrow?
"Not too tight, Rouge," he cautioned. "She doesn't need rope burns."
The redhead glanced up at him.
"And why not?"
He exchanged a look with Jeannot.
"I don't think she's our enemy."
"Are you serious?" Rouge hissed, stomping over to him. "There is a hole in your hood, Cap. But you'll let her walk away so she can try again later?"
"We're dropping her off at the nearest village for the local sheriff to handle," he corrected calmly. "We're not murderers." "We have no quarrel with her, aside from taking a shot at Cap," Jeannot rumbled in his deep voice. "She has no identifying papers, nor any messages."
"What are you saying?" Rouge replied angrily. Cap shook his head.
"That we waylaid the wrong person. She doesn't work for General Valentine."
They stood in silence, staring at the unconscious woman on the ground. He had been so sure when Rouge signaled. The woman had come through the pass at the correct time. She was traveling alone, despite being dressed in fine fabrics. She had refused to show him her satchel.
"Unless the messages were verbal," Rouge finally suggested. "The general may not have wanted to risk putting sensitive information in writing."
A shrill scream pierced the air. Cap spun to see their captive's feet scrabbling against the ground as she stared with horrified eyes at something in front of her. Get it off! Get it off! If she's not an enemy, why is she making such a racket? Rouge growled. She'll attract anyone passing by to our position. Lunging forward, Cap slapped a hand over the woman's mouth. Do you want to bring the force down on us? He hissed. Her green eyes shot toward him, searching the shadows under his hood. I will gag you if I must. She studied him for a few moments, her struggles slowing. Then her head shot forward, and he felt her teeth scrape against his glove. He jerked back. Don't touch me, the Spitfire ordered, keeping her voice low. The fire in her eyes warned that the surrounding trees would be aflame if she possessed Rouge's magic. A deep chuckle rolled over them. Quite the charmer you've got yourself, Cap. Are you sure you want to throw her back? Cap sat back on his heels, hiding his annoyance. What is your name, vixen? She lifted an eyebrow in challenge. What's yours? Cap can't be your real name. Truly, Cap. She's a free agent and looking for a home. Jeannot laughed freely. You could use a little excitement in your life. I don't have enough of that already, Cap replied wryly. Focusing on the woman again, he sat silently, considering her. Whether or not she worked for the general, he didn't feel inclined to give her information about himself. But this part was common knowledge. It's short for Le Capuchon. Le Capuchon, she snorted. Isn't that Old Emetian for the hood? Startled, he clasped his hands, resting his forearm on his knee and tilting his head to hide his reaction. You know Old Emetian? Not many people studied it. The fact that she did made her much more interesting. Don't even think about it, Rouge warned. The general sent her here to ensnare you. He knows your love of the old languages. The general knows nothing about Le Capuchon, he replied calmly. Raising an eyebrow, he turned toward her. Unless you have informed him? That is not the name your mother gave you, the captive woman cut in with certainty. I'll tell you my name if you tell me yours, she wheedled. His name. His real name? Cap's eyes dropped to the ground as her words destroyed any thoughts of levity. I have no name, he finally said, his voice gruff as he shoved to his feet. I threw it away. And it was time for him to be on his way. This feisty woman, with her hasty bow and her interest in the old languages, had delayed him long enough. Striding away, he jabbed a finger toward Rouge. Take her and her mount back to the horses, and be gentle. She's been hurt enough for one day. He stormed past Jeannot, nodding ahead. You're with me. Let's hope we didn't miss the real messenger. Cap could feel his friend's eyes on the side of his head, but neither spoke for a few minutes. It was absurd. The woman's words shouldn't bother him so much. Are you all right? Of course, Cap calmly replied. It's not the first time someone has shot at me, and her arrow didn't even find its mark. You know that's not what I meant. Sighing, he looked away. It is simply a reminder of why we need what that messenger is carrying. They soon reached the road. Jeannot returned to the tree he'd previously occupied, but Cap stayed on the ground this time. Sending Rouge back to the horses meant he had no lookout, so he wouldn't have time to drop out of a tree. The soft scrape of his friend's boots against bark disappeared, and Cap settled in to wait. They didn't have to wait for long. 15 minutes later, another horse trotted around the blind corner. This one carried a middle-aged man wearing a uniform of Emetian blue. Drawing his bow, Cap jumped onto the road and pointed an arrow at the rider. Halt! Le Capuchon! Instead of appearing surprised or worried, the man stretched his mouth into a smile. I was hoping you'd show up. Not the usual response, even if he'd already heard it once today. If you toss me your satchel, I'll let you be on your way, Cap replied anyway. His feet itched to move back a step, but he wouldn't get what he needed if he showed weakness. The other man laughed. I'll give you points for bravery, but this is the last day you terrorize our kingdom. Something moved on the far side of the road. Cap released his arrow and dove forward, rolling to his feet with another arrow knocked. 2 yells of pain. Jeannot was alert this time, but it wasn't enough. Even as he loosed his arrow, another 5 guards jumped forward. The crunching of booted feet warned him of more at his back. Where had they all come from? "Fall back," he yelled, sending an arrow into a man's sword arm. He fired twice more, giving Jeannot time to scramble to the ground. Then he shuffled backward into the safety of the trees. Spinning on his heel, Cap sprinted away. He flipped around frequently to thin their pursuers, but he and Jeannot couldn't stop them all. The informant must have been a plant, but Cap had scouted the area before setting up his ambush. The guards hadn't. His mind tripped up as he grabbed another arrow. He hadn't checked again after caring for the woman. The guards must have set their trap while he was distracted. She wasn't the messenger. She was the trick to finding his location. Gasps of air roughened his throat as he sprang up the section of steeper slope. Good. If she was the general's spy, the general could have her. Cap couldn't afford to drag her along.